the noise is everywhere. Arguments online. Tense meetings at work. Family disagreements that spiral into shouting matches. It feels like the world is always one spark away from chaos. And when emotions run high, the pull to join in is strong. But over 2,000 years ago, Confucius described a way to remain steady in the storm. A way to keep your center when everyone else is losing theirs. In the doctrine of the mean, he said, "Perfect indeed is the virtue which accords with the mean." The mean is balance, not weakness, not indifference. Balance. It's the strength to respond without overreacting, to stay calm without withdrawing. In this video, we'll explore 10 Confucian principles that show exactly how to do that. Each one drawn directly from his teachings and applied to the conflicts of modern life. Principle 1. Choose balance over extremes. Perfect is the virtue which is according to the mean. Confucius believed that extremes are dangerous, whether in thought, action, or emotion. The mean is not mediocrity, it is the perfect balance point between excess and deficiency. In the doctrine of the mean, he explains that when we live in harmony with this middle way, our character becomes steady, and our decisions become wise. This is not about avoiding passion, but about guiding it so it serves us, not controls us. In modern life, think about how easily we are pulled into extremes. One negative comment online can ruin our whole day. One heated meeting can spiral into an argument that damages months of teamwork. Even our personal goals swing wildly, strict diets followed by complete indulgence, overwork followed by total burnout. Confucius would say that the root problem is not the event, but the swing. When emotions tilt too far, they become storms that cloud judgment. When balanced, they become winds that push us forward. So, how do we apply this? First, become aware of your tipping points. Notice the moment before you raise your voice or type that angry reply. That is the space where balance can be chosen. Second, practice the pause. In that space, breathe deeply 3 times. This gives your rational mind the chance to take control back from your emotional reflex. Third, aim for proportionality. If the situation is minor, respond in kind. Save strong reactions for strong causes. One way to remember this is with a simple question: will this still matter in a week? If not, the mean says, adjust your reaction to match its true weight. Confucius taught that a ruler who follows the mean creates stability in the whole kingdom. In our own lives, that kingdom might just be our family, our workplace, or our own mind. By holding the middle ground, we become the steady point others can rely on. And remember his words. Perfect is the virtue which is according to the mean. Balance is not weakness, it is mastery. Principle 2. Control yourself before correcting others. The superior person first puts his own house in order, and then governs others. Analects. Confucius knew that authority without self-control is fragile. If your emotions are unsteady, your words will wobble, and people will resist rather than follow. Leadership, whether in a boardroom, a home, or a group chat, is emotional contagion. Your state spreads faster than your instructions. Work example. A manager spots a mistake in a report minutes before a presentation. The first impulse is to snap. Who messed this up? That only shifts focus from fixing the problem to defending egos. Instead, a self-governed leader takes one breath, says, "This figure is wrong. We'll fix it now, then talk later about how to prevent this." The problem gets solved without a second fire starting. Family example. A child storms in late from school, throwing their bag on the floor. You feel the flash of frustration. Instead of launching into a lecture, you lower your voice, ask, "What happened?" Once they answer, you can decide if the conversation needs discipline, comfort, or both. Online example. You're misquoted in a heated thread. Your fingers hover over the keys, ready to strike back. You step away for 10 minutes, draft a reply that addresses the point, not the insult, and leave it at that. No fuel for the fire. How to apply? 1. Breath check before speech. If your breath is fast, your mouth is about to be. Slow it first. 2. Tone and posture audit. Relax your jaw, drop your shoulders, unclench your hands. Even silent tension can be read as aggression. 3. One behavior, one request. Correct the action, not the person's identity. Make the ask specific and achievable. Confucius would say, "The greatest order you create is the order inside yourself. Control that, and you'll have the power to lead others without raising your voice." Principle 3. Make your words deliberate. If names are not correct, language will not be in accordance with the truth of things. Analects 13.3. Confucius taught that clarity in speech is the foundation of clarity in action. When words are careless, misunderstandings multiply. When words are precise, even tense situations can move toward resolution. Think of names here as labels, the way we identify people, actions, and situations. If the label is wrong, the response will be wrong. Work example. "You always ignore my emails," labels a colleague as unresponsive in general. It triggers defensiveness and turns the moment into a personal battle. Instead, "I didn't get a reply to Tuesday's email about the vendor deadline. Could you confirm you received it?" Now the focus is factual, specific, and solvable. Relationship example. "You never listen to me," labels a partner as perpetually inattentive. It shuts down dialogue. Instead, "When I was telling you about my day, you checked your phone. It made me feel unimportant. Can we try again for 5 minutes without phones?" Specific behavior, clear impact, direct request. Online example. "You're clueless," labels a stranger's entire identity. It escalates the exchange instantly. Instead, "I think we're using different definitions of that term. Here's how I understand it." It reframes the conversation toward shared language. How to apply. 1. Describe, don't diagnose. Report the action you saw, not the motive you guessed. 2. Cut always and never. These words turn events into attacks on identity. 3. Name the desired outcome. Pair every critique with a clear path forward. Confucius would say, "When speech matches reality, understanding follows." Deliberate words are not weak words, they are accurate, and accuracy is strength. Principle 4. Practise Ren, or humaneness. The benevolent man loves others, the man without benevolence loves only himself. Analects. Ren, humaneness, sits at the heart of Confucius philosophy. It is empathy put into action. It is the ability to see beyond your own hurt or anger to the shared humanity in the other person. When people lose control, it is rarely because they simply enjoy being unreasonable. More often, it's because they feel ignored, disrespected, or afraid. Confucius taught that by meeting agitation with Ren, we can break the cycle of escalation. Work example. In a team meeting, a colleague snaps at you. "This project is a mess because you didn't send me the figures." The easy reaction is to defend yourself, loudly. Instead, you say, "I hear you're frustrated about the figures. Let's go over them now and make sure you have what you need." You've acknowledged their concern without feeding their anger, and the focus shifts back to problem solving. Family example. Your teenager slams the door after a curfew argument. Instead of shouting through the wood, you wait until emotions settle and then say, "I want to understand what's going on for you. Can we talk?" It communicates care without erasing the boundary you've set. Stranger example. A driver cuts you off in traffic and shouts through the window. Instead of responding in kind, you let them pass and carry on. Ren in this case means refusing to let a single moment of anger dictate your next mile. How to apply Ren. 1. Look for the need behind the behavior. Anger often hides fear, exhaustion, or embarrassment. 2. Ask before assuming. Questions like, "What's your main concern here?" can change the direction of a conversation. 3. Preserve dignity. Even when someone is wrong, humiliating them will only deepen resistance. Confucius would remind us that Ren is not softness. It is disciplined compassion, the kind that turns hostility into cooperation, not by overpowering the other person, but by lifting the whole interaction to a better place. Principle 5. Lead with example, not force. He who rules by virtue is like the North Polar Star, which keeps its place and all the stars turn towards it. Analects 2.1. Confucius believed that the most powerful leaders do not need to shout to be heard. True authority comes from moral example, not threats or commands. When your behavior is steady and principled, people orient themselves toward you naturally, just as sailors use the North Star to find their way. This is not only for kings and rulers. In everyday life, you can be the North Star for your family, your friends, your colleagues, and even strangers in fleeting encounters. Work example. Your department is under intense client pressure, deadlines are slipping, and tempers are fraying. A manager who reacts with panic will send the whole team into overdrive and mistakes will multiply. A manager who calmly prioritizes, communicates clearly, and stays respectful under pressure sets the tone. The team mirrors that calm, and progress returns. Family example. In a family argument, one person's raised voice can set off a chain reaction. But if you remain measured, speak slowly, and keep your body language open, others will often begin to match your tone without realizing it. Public example. In a crowded queue, someone cuts ahead and people start muttering angrily. Instead of joining the chorus, you politely say, "The end of the line is just there," with a smile. You've addressed the problem without fueling it, and you've shown others that firmness can be delivered without hostility. How to apply? 1. Set your tone before you enter the situation. Decide in advance whether you want to project calm, optimism, or firmness. 2. Stick to it under pressure. If provoked, pause before reacting. Remember, you're modeling the behavior you want to see. 3. Let consistency be your gravity. People trust what they can predict. If your conduct is steady, they will adjust themselves to it over time. Confucius would remind us that the North Star doesn't force the other stars to orbit, it simply holds its place. In the same way, your consistent presence can guide the behavior of those around you more effectively than any order or demand. Principle 6. Practice the daily renovation of self. If you can one day renovate yourself, do so from day to day. Yes, let there be daily renovation. The great learning. Confucius taught that calmness under pressure is not a gift you are born with, it is a skill, and like any skill, it grows through deliberate practice. Daily renovation is the habit of honest self-examination, looking at who you were today, learning from it, and deciding who you want to be tomorrow. This is not about perfectionism. It is about steady, almost invisible progress, the kind that compounds over weeks, months, and years. Work example. You lost your patience with a colleague in a meeting. Instead of writing it off as a bad day, you reflect. What triggered me? Was it the pressure of the deadline, or the way the feedback was delivered? You note it down, and next time you see the same pattern forming, you take a breath before responding. Family example. You meant to be patient while helping your child with homework but ended up snapping after repeated mistakes. That evening, you acknowledge it to yourself, and even to them. I lost my cool earlier. Next time, I'll take a short break before continuing. That awareness, and the humility to admit it, are part of the renovation. Personal example. Scrolling late at night, you stumble into an online argument that leaves you agitated. You ask, why did I feel the need to jump in? Was it worth my peace? The next day, you set a rule, no online debates after 9 p.m. How to apply? 1. Daily reflection ritual. Before bed, ask yourself, when did I keep my balance today? When did I lose it? What can I try differently next time? 2. Track your triggers. Patterns will emerge, certain people, times of day, or topics set you off. Anticipation is half the battle. 3. Celebrate micro-improvements. Even 1 second more of calm before reacting is renovation in action. Confucius would remind us that just as a house stays strong through regular upkeep, so too does character. By renovating yourself each day, you build the resilience to stay composed in the biggest storms. Principle 7. Respect the moment of silence. The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. Analects 14.29. Confucius understood the quiet strength of holding one's tongue. In moments of tension, silence is not absence, it is presence. It creates space for emotions to settle, facts to surface, and wisdom to take form. A measured pause can prevent words you'll regret and turn a potential conflict into a chance for understanding. Work example. In a meeting, a client criticizes your proposal sharply in front of the team. Your instinct is to defend every point immediately. Instead, you take a slow breath, thank them for their feedback, and say you'll address their concerns point by point after hearing the rest. By the time you speak, the atmosphere is calmer, and your response carries more weight. Family example. A partner throws out a hurtful comment during an argument. Rather than matching it in volume or sting, you remain quiet for a few seconds. That silence signals that you're processing, not ignoring, and prevents the argument from spiraling. Online example. You read an inflammatory comment that misrepresents your position. Instead of replying in the heat of the moment, you wait an hour. By then, your emotions have cooled, your words are sharper in focus, and your response addresses the issue, not the insult. How to use silence effectively. 1. Pause before reacting. Count to 5 in your head before speaking in emotionally charged moments. 2. Use active listening cues. A nod, steady eye contact, or an open posture shows you're engaged without rushing to respond. 3. Let your words carry the weight of patience. When you finally speak, people will notice you took the time to think. Confucius would remind us, your actions will always speak louder than your words, but the right silence can make your words resonate when they finally arrive. Principle 8. Focus on what you can control. When we see men of worth, we should think of equaling them. When we see men of a contrary character, we should turn inwards and examine ourselves. Analects 4.17. Confucius warned against the trap of spending our energy on changing others. When we fixate on someone else's faults in the moment, we hand them control over our emotions. The wiser path is to turn the mirror inward. What can I improve in my own conduct, right now? This is not surrender. It is strategy. You cannot force another person to be reasonable, but you can ensure you remain reasonable, and that steadiness often influences others more than confrontation ever could. Work example. A colleague takes credit for your idea in a meeting. Your first impulse is to interrupt, correct them publicly, and make sure everyone knows. Instead, you stay composed, contribute constructively to the discussion, and follow up later with the manager privately. You've protected your reputation without fueling a scene. Family example. A relative insists on bringing up a divisive political opinion at every gathering. You can't control their views, but you can control your reaction. You choose to disengage politely and steer the conversation toward common ground topics, keeping the event pleasant for everyone. Online example. Someone posts a sarcastic, goading comment on your work. You can't change their tone, but you can decide not to feed it. Either you respond calmly and briefly, or you don't respond at all, protecting your energy and your focus. How to apply. 1. Identify your circle of control. Ask, which part of this situation can I directly influence? Focus only there. 2. Stop measuring yourself by their standards. Your success is how well you kept your own principles, not whether they changed. 3. Let bad behavior be their problem, not your performance. Don't let someone else's chaos rewrite your script. Confucius would remind us that self-mastery is a more certain victory than winning over another person. When you focus on what you can control, you make your peace and your power untouchable. Principle 9. Keep your priorities clear. The way is not far from men. Analects 13.3. In the heat of conflict, we often drift far from what we truly care about. A conversation that started about solving a problem turns into a battle over who gets the last word. A project meant to serve the client becomes about proving we were right all along. Confucius taught that the way, the right path, is never far from us. It is not hidden in some lofty ideal, it is found in remembering our true priorities and acting in line with them. Work example. A colleague challenges your proposal in front of a senior manager. Your pride stings, and you want to defend yourself point by point. But you pause and remember, the priority is getting the project approved. You respond by thanking them for raising concerns and suggesting a follow-up to address details, keeping the meeting on track. Family example. During a holiday gathering, a sibling criticizes your life choices. You could fire back, or you could remember that your priority is keeping the atmosphere pleasant for everyone. You respond with a polite nod and change the subject, protecting the peace. Personal example. An online stranger insults your work. You feel the urge to reply with a cutting remark. But your real objective is to grow your audience, not win a one-off exchange. You let the comment pass, preserving your focus and energy. How to apply. 1. Ask, what is my real objective? Is it to win the point, or to protect the relationship, the project, or your peace of mind? 2. Filter your actions through that objective. If a reaction doesn't serve it, drop it. 3. Use your priorities as a compass. When emotions pull you off course, return to the question, will this move me closer or further away from my goal? Confucius would remind us that the right path is always within reach. Clarity of purpose is the compass that keeps us steady when emotions try to blow us off course. Principle 10. Practice sincerity in thought. Making the thoughts sincere. The great learning. Confucius taught that our outward calm, or lack of it, begins long before any argument or confrontation. It begins in the thoughts we allow to take root. If your inner dialogue is filled with suspicion, resentment, and defensiveness, then even a small disagreement can erupt into a storm. But if you cultivate sincerity, thoughts grounded in truth, fairness, and goodwill, then when conflict comes, you meet it with balance instead of bias. Sincerity in thought doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means approaching them without the distortion of prejudice or hostility. It's about replacing the question, how do I win, with, how do I understand and respond wisely? Work example. Before a tense negotiation, you find yourself thinking, they're going to try to cheat us. That assumption colors every word and gesture. Instead, you shift the thought to, they have their needs, and I have mine, let's see where we can meet. The sincerity of the thought opens space for cooperation instead of deadlock. Family example. Your teenager comes home late. Your first thought is, they don't respect my rules. You pause and consider, maybe something delayed them, I should ask before assuming. That sincere, open-minded thought changes the tone of the entire conversation. Personal example. You notice a colleague seems distant. Instead of thinking, they must be upset with me, you ask yourself, could they be dealing with something personal? That shift in perspective may lead you to offer support instead of reacting defensively. How to apply? 1. Start your day with a deliberate intention. Choose one clear, positive focus, such as patience, curiosity, or kindness. 2. End your day with gratitude. Note at least one thing you're thankful for, no matter how small. 3. Run a mental sincerity check. When judging someone else, ask, is this thought fair? Is it true? Is it necessary? Confucius would remind us that calmness under pressure is not an act we switch on and off, it is the natural result of a mind trained in sincerity. If your thoughts are honest and balanced, your actions will follow the same path. You've now seen 10 timeless principles from Confucius, each one a way to hold steady when the world around you tilts toward chaos. The real power comes in practicing them, so they become second nature when conflict strikes. Who in your life needs this calm? Tag them in the comments, and share this video so they can carry Confucius wisdom into their own storms. And if you found these ideas valuable, like and subscribe, because we have more ancient wisdom coming that can guide you through today's challenges.